Let's start. Good evening and welcome to the seventh episode of Leadership Conversations in the Development Sector. The social impact sector is full of passionate leaders with innovative outlooks on the world's greatest problems. Our leadership conversations focus on the unique insights offered by these leaders as they share their experiences and move the development sector forward. Our host, Go Barefoot, is an interactive web portal dedicated to the social sector. It brings together individuals, NGOs, NPOs, and the CSR arms of organizations with the mandate of creating a one stop information website for both networking and knowledge sharing. We are supported by Catalyst, an NGO which has been preparing young women for leadership roles to create equality in opportunities and bridge the gender gap. Also, we are supported by third sector partners, India's only executive search firm exclusively for the development sector. Our guest today is one of the leading lights in the development sector. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Chetna Gala Sinha, founder chairperson Mandeshi Bank and Mandeshi Foundation. Chetna Gala Sinha is a passionate listener who respects risk takers, which makes her a powerful force in the banking world. Chetna founded the Mandeshi Foundation with the aim of economically and socially empowering rural women. In 1997, she set up the Mandeshi Mahila Sahakari Bank, India's first bank for and by rural women. Today, the Mandeshi Bank has 1 lakh account holders, has loaned over $70 million dollars, and regularly creates new financial products to support the needs of female micro entrepreneurs. Mandeshi has supported over 500,000 women and aims to reach 1 million women by 2024. In 2006, she founded the first business school for rural women in India. And in 2013, she launched a toll free helpline and the first chambers of commerce for women micro entrepreneurs in the country. Chetna Sinha has received many accolades for her work. She has been awarded the 2005 Chanki Devi Bajaj Award for rural entrepreneurship, the 2005 Ashoka Changemakers Award, the 2009 Godfrey Phillips Bravery Award, and the 2010 Edelgive Social Innovation Honors. She has won the 2013 Squab Foundation Social Entrepreneur of the Year Award, the 2017 Forbes Social Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and was ranked by Fortune India as one of the country's 50 top businesswomen in 2018. In January 2018, Sinha served as a co-chair of the World Economic Forum, and later that year, she was awarded the Nari Shakti Puraskar, the highest civilian award for women in India by President of India. In conversation with Chetna is Shital Kakkar Mehra, leadership expert and executive presence coach for CEOs. Shital has coached several hundred CXOs in the past decades and has conducted workshops for diverse organizations across Asia. She has been invited as a speaker by leading B schools and professional associations. She's a best selling author, and her latest best selling book on executive presence is India's first research based formula on executive presence. Sheetal is an active philanthropist and social entrepreneur. Thank you, Sheetal and Chetna ji, for joining us today. Over to you, Sheetal, now.
Thank you, Sakshi. Namaste, welcome, Chetna ji. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. And our listeners are eagerly waiting to hear your thoughts on leadership. So I'm going to start with my first question, which is that the development sector in India has significantly changed, evolved in the last couple of decades. So how has leadership evolved to rise up to this challenge?
So, if you see, I mean, particularly in the development sector, uh, as far as leadership is concerned, you know, 5-7 years back, if somebody would talk about the development sector, there was always, if you meet somebody, then the person is either like CFO or, and we would meet in some meetings and would talk about work in the villages or work with the rural women, and we discuss. Then that CFO, of course, man would say like, "Oh, my wife would really like your thoughts," and I would see that she can meet you. What I want to share with you is that there was a time when the corporate world, or you can say like the mainstream sector was considered very different, and that was like macho world. And then the development sector, soft, feminine world. And so you talk about it, and then you say, oh, and at that time I used to, when people used to say that, I would immediately say that maybe you want to think again when you are classifying this way, because people, those who are in development sector, actually doesn't think that way. They think themselves as the leaders of the society. Number one, something is wrong that mainstream sector is macho and development sector is feminine, which they want to prove it that is wrong, and you will have to, you will face it. And I'm glad that Shital, that within some years development sector actually showed that something is wrong in mainstream sector, right? It is, development sector is not a janana dabba, right? It is as simple as ladies compartment, aisa nahi hai. So I see that since last 10 years, not only just development sector has uh, expanded or enhanced, but actually changed the parameters of mainstream sectors also. These different things like mainstream sector has to think, and it's not that uh, you see the development sector as somewhere you have to fit them in, but somewhere uh, mainstream sector will have to change the mindset of them, otherwise you won't be able to survive. And I'm very glad that I'm just sharing this, that being a part of, say, these competitions in the corporate world are there, where best managed companies and all. And now the parameters are that in those, when you are jury, the people discuss that, okay, what is your how much accountable are you towards your clients, your customer, your employee household, or so. I think all these parameters have come from the development sector, number one. Second, in fact, the whole impact driven idea. What is the impact on the people? What is the impact on the families? What is the, and I, as I see all the, like, either, it's a Go Barefoot or Catalyst India or third partner sector. Or- I the focus is that young women should look at themselves not as a mothers, not as a wife, not as a just looking at household, but being a professional. And with that, she also brings a different important. I will come to it later, but the pandemic and climate change has actually shown that unless you bring them in the center in the leadership, things are not going to change.
So beautifully articulated and wonderful examples. Completely agree with you. My next question is that the divide between the social and corporate sector is reducing. So what is your view on that? Since you have seen this over decades, and what are your thoughts?
Actually, Sheetal, let me here now give you some concrete grassroots examples, like divide in the corporate and social sector is reducing. Yes, somewhere, uh, and I would just, before coming to the exactly answering the question, I would like to share here that in 25 years back, when we Mandish, we applied. I shifted from Mumbai to a small village, and where one of the street vendor, Kantabai, she came to me and she said that she want to open a saving account, and banks are denying her account. She was she said, I want to save money because I'm staying on the street with my family, doing business on the street, Kantabai. And she said that I want to buy a tarpaulin sheet for the shelter during monsoon and during summer. And for that, I want to save. And banks were not opening the account. Why? Because she was not an affordable client. Now she's not asking for loan, she's not asking for grant, she is asking an opportunity to save. and she was denied that. And I thought, if banks are not opening the account, why not start the bank for women like Kantabai? It was not
How wonderful.
yeah, and the whole effort was that it was to set up a commercial institution with no outside support for these women. So, I mean, and we applied for the banking license, and everywhere there was denial. Denial was that we cannot, license was denied because we cannot issue a license to the bank whose promoting members are non-literate because they cannot read and write. And our women said, we cannot read and write, but we can count, we can manage our finance. And not only that, but they challenged the central bank officers that you tell us to calculate the interest of any principal amount. We will calculate faster than you if you are without calculator, right? So these women were like very clear. Nowhere the development sector, in spite of so many unjust opportunities, are behind. We can manage that. And I'm so proud to share with you, actually, Shital, that today, I mean, this women's bank with no outside investors, no outside support, women capital, women saving, women credit, and not only that, but when I was co-chairing Davos, and when I said that for first 5 years, our women sacrificed their dividend. Why? In fact, I was saying that, bank is making profit and women should take the dividend. And I was nervous that if we don't give it, they will not stay with us. But women said, no, we do not want dividend. We will put it into the reserve of our institution. See,
Wow.
in the talent which, or the long-term thinking which they had, that we want our institution to be stronger, continue to support us, continue, and we will grow it. And because we want to grow it, we are putting our dividend into the reserves. I felt they were the best bankers I had ever met, because they knew the best use of the dividend, which I never saw in the mainstream financial sector. And so, in that, I would say, answering to the question, that why, I mean, the boundaries are blurring, because the value which is coming from the social sector is not only that value is only for the poor, right? That whole
True.
value is for the wealth creation. Either it is poor or it is better off. But if you want to get into wealth creation, your way of thinking has to be, if you need a healthy and wealthy society, this is the way one should think, right? So actually,
Yeah.
these women became my teachers. And I always say that one thing I've learned from them, and which I find that social sectors have come, development sector has come through so many such lessons, that never think in a poor way, never provide poor solutions to poor people. These are the learnings you get from the social sector, which now I feel that the corporate sector is realizing that there's so much to learn from them.
Superb, so inspiring, so wonderful. I want to hear about your journey, that founders, who are leading organizations feel at times lonely. It's lonely at the top, leading a company, growing needs. So sometimes they look at a coach or a mentor. So what has your thought been on that?
I'm very glad, Sheetal, that you have asked this question. Everybody, like, everybody would like to hear the successes, right? And yes, successes are always there. But I, when you set up any institution, let me tell you personally, when I was setting up the bank, there was so much which was going on in my mind at that time, that you are setting up the depositor taking institution, you are setting up the institution, financial institution, where the other peers are very different, right? And it is not in the only banking sector. Shital, today I would think that so many startups, which, even Catalyst must have found so many, given so many support to women-led either businesses or in service sector, that there is a, that, that the whole networking in these areas, for women led, either it is business or wherever, is very limited. And particularly when you are a founder, you do share success, and then you are, you know, people appreciate you, you are awarded, but there are a lot of things which you want to discuss, which makes you lonely. And I would also give you examples instead of, vaguely talking about it. That when I set up the bank, and we wanted to, there was a guideline which came in from the Reserve Bank of India, that 20% of your deposits have to be invested in the bond market. Now, this was in 2005 or 6, I don't remember the exact year, but 20 more than 15 years or 20 years back. When we are sitting in Maswad, not in Mumbai, started the bank there, it's successful. Now you have to have chief investment officer, right? Who would understand the bond market, trade market, trading on the floor, and also getting all that information sitting in a small remote village in Satara district, not in Mumbai, where there is connectivity issue is there and all that. Everyone told me that you will not be able to do it. You will not find talent, number one. You will not get the infrastructure, number two, like connectivity and all. And you will not be able to earn and update, and women cannot take a risk of trading in the bond market. And I was like, I don't believe that. I mean, I don't, there was no reason why it will not. There was no, that was whole presumed that, women will not be able to do it. I'm so proud to share with you, Shital, that everyone told me that, and everyone said, you have your office in Mumbai, we will find somebody here. And I said that the whole idea of having the office in remote is that we want to be around community so that we don't lose the context. Rural communities, they will come to us, they will share what are the products, banking products are required. And so I decided that no, we will not open office in Mumbai, we'll start here. After 20 years, Reserve Bank was surprised to see how our chief investment officer, who is a local person, who is women, who is not sitting in Mumbai, but at the end of the day, she would have all the details of bond market. Not only that, but there is not a single bond or a single treasury bill. We have sold it below the value which we have purchased.
Wow.
So what I'm trying to share with you, Shital, that there are it's not me, founders, or those who have built the organizations must have gone through so many such things where everyone must have said that you won't be able to do it. And at that time you are alone, right? Lonely fighting it, because it's not on one side when you are rejected, you say that I'll prove it. But at the same time, there is like, now people do talk about coaching, people do talk about sharing your fears, because there are fears in the mind. Well, and how do you overcome that? I do think that these things are very, very important, and I'm glad that these things are being discussed today, because in spite of the, your persistence can make you see that whatever you decide, you achieve it. But that whole journey of, and I am very in the similar way, and it's not with us only, right? It is also like in rural areas, in villages, when we see that women who is sharing sheep and goat, whole day she is in the field, but she is dreaming of making her daughter engineer. She has never seen that what are the computer engineers look like or something. Every day she is rearing sheep and goat, but she makes it happen in the second generation. So that is
Yeah.
such a bigger job, which I would say, like, her loneliness must be such a so intense, right? So
Yeah.
I do find that these things should come out on the public platform, and we should discuss those things. And it would actually, with this discussion, we can create sort of,
Platform
yeah, and then
for
platform
this.
of solidarity, right? That yes,
Sure.
I was told this, but I proved it, and we may be having thousands of such stories. So
Of
many.
course.
So
We hear it in Catalyst also all the time that, they want to be engineers, their parents dreamt of them, their mom supported them. So I think, yes, I completely agree with you. My next question is also related to entrepreneurship and you as a social entrepreneur. Now, scaling up can be a huge challenge. So, could you share your journey on that?
definitely, Sheetal. So the one thing it is always one I would actually say that in particularly in development sector, we were little bit shying away from the scaling up. When I say shying away, in the sense that, um, of course, the work or the value which you want to bring in while working, those things are very important. But at the same time, the mainstream sector always felt, or the corporate sector always felt that, or many people would ask me, you are doing great work. India is so huge. We need, like, why Mandeshi is not all over India? Or you would say that how many, you know, Chetna Sinha you require, or how many Purvi Seth, or how many Shital are required, right? All those things are being said, and which is somewhere I do feel that there is a bit valid criticism on that scaling up. But particularly in pandemic, what I saw was it was the only development sector from relief work on, so providing the feeding the millions of migrants, to providing oxygen or providing ventilators, opening the mask units, uh, managing the hospitals, managing the ambulances, all those work, if you see minutely, it was taken up by the development sector. Not
Very true.
only that, the leadership was with development sector. So even if the oxygen, those cyclogenic tankers, right? Those are like people who are from the corporate world, they have it. But where they will go, how they will go, it was so, in that whole pandemic, first wave, and particularly in the second wave, we saw that India could breathe because development sector was leading that whole thing. And now I keep on saying on all global and public platform that people should recognize this, that the India could breathe because of the development sector. Now, I don't say that corporate world failed, and I don't say that government failed. What I'm trying to say, or what I'm emphasizing, is that development sector led, and they reached to the last mile population. Why? Because they were the closest to the last mile population, number
Right.
one.
Yes.
Second, they knew the pulse of the last mile population, how to reach there, how to manage things at the ground level, at the zero ground, how to
Right.
manage those. So even, like, we had an examples that in so many places, either it is at a corporate world or it is at the government, oxygen concentrators were lying. But when
Right.
development sector intervened, it went to the people where it was
Mm.
required. So with the scaling up, I see that yes, in the beginning, I as mentioned that we were, thinking that we don't have that capacity what corporate world have. We means development sector. Now after this whole experience, and even if you see in the disaster and climate change, who is the most effective? It's development sector. So
So
I
true.
do feel that now we are sitting on the experience of these two areas. I mean, particularly in pandemic, in second wave, what sector did take the leadership. So we should be ready to take this risk of scaling up, not only just scaling up, but leading it. And when I say leading, what I mean is that development sector should now come out with, like, okay, we will collaborate with the government and set up, say, for example, in Satara district, we took up the responsibility of running the COVID hospital. And we brought government and the corporate sector. We got HSPC and the collector office. And we said, okay, we will be the mediating agency to bring the resources from the corporate and also get the permissions from the government and make sure that you provide a decent health service either at a free rate because people cannot afford in COVID for whole family, or at a decent rate, so that then the market, because there was so much abuse going on, right? So
True.
with these example, I just want to say that now development sector, in particularly in India, is at the stage where it can take the leadership and bring, and I see that even either it is catalyst or go barefoot, you can see that how the leadership corporate world is also changing its.
Appreciating it. Agree. In fact, I completely agree with you that during the second wave, we saw the government, the corporate sector, and the development sector work together so beautifully synchronized and help the nation back on its feet. So that's amazing. Now, technology has also been a big game changer. So, how has it impacted the development sector, and especially in the last 18 months, where things have gone digital in a big hurry? And, so what's your view on that?
Yeah, very important, Sheetal. Let me, before answering in the details, let me share with you one story. There is in our neighboring village, there is one lady, Manisha Jimal. In after pandemic, many people left Mumbai, so she also left Mumbai. Her husband was working in security company and was a security guard of some bank. They lost the job and they came back to the village. Manisha started rearing buffaloes and selling milk, and then she came to in contact with Mandeshi and Mandeshi Foundation. And we had a very, this whole, of course, we were talking about digitalization and digital banking and all that. So Manisha wanted, and she was very clear that if there is a lockdown, she is selling milk, taking the risk, because otherwise she would not be able to survive. But how can she grow? And with our digital program, our digital head of the digital banking is actually Rupali Shinde, who has never been to the high school. But because she was cheated in her business and lack of proof of payment, she had to pay 30,000 rupees more. Since then, she was always doing digital transaction. And when we saw
Yeah.
her, Rupali Shinde, that she's so great, so we made her head of our digital banking program. And so she trained Manisha, and she said that, why don't you have a accounting app on your mobile so that you can send the bill where you are selling milk digitally.
Mm.
See, when you talk about digital or digital transactions or digital learning and all, the things are that it's not that people don't know, but the whole thing is that the whole ecosystem which is required,
Mm.
is it there? So the first thing is that digital source of money. If unless I have a digital source of money, how am I going to do the digital transaction? So we have this system that the first thing we do is that tell our women, you take a loan for smartphone, and people actually for online learning, most of the household last 18 months,
Yeah.
when we did a survey and did a study with WhatsApp, we found that only 14% of the household where women had a smartphone. Now that number has rose to 60%.
Huh.
They have a smartphone. Why this number has gone up? The simple thing that if child wants to study online, is not going to get the father's phone. But if mother is owning the phone, she will make sure that he gets it. And so she will buy the phone. And we designed that product at the bank that women can take the loan for cell phone, and we made the Reserve Bank of India to make it is under priority sector lending. That whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking like how you have to make sure in policy also people are thinking, right? And when Manisha got an accounting app, she sent the bill to her client who was buying milk from her on digitally. And he was so proud. And he said, मेरे घर पे जो दूध बेचती है वो मुझे digitally bill बेचती है. And he started paying her digitally. And she could actually, now she is teaching the sarpanch of the villages how to do digital banking in her own village. These women, they come from underprivileged caste. They come from very low economic background, in marginalized. And today, with that digital knowledge and talent, they are considered as a, teachers, and that wisdom. So I do feel that, this is the area where actually digital divide is going to, come, we are going to come closer and closer and fill that gap. The whole thing is that people should understand one thing, that digitalization is not just going to happen by teaching last mile population, but the supply side, the mainstream industry, or I would say supply side, should think that we have to create that ecosystem, that do poor people have a digital source of money, do women have a digital source of money, if not, how can they get it? Are there digital tools for making, like if I want to open a saving account and my saving account has to be linked on the smartphone, how much easy are we making it? Because in India, we are champions in making things complicated. Really, I mean, I always find in India, कुछ अगर ज्यादा हार्ड करना है तो हम उसमें चैंपियन है, इजी करने में हमको लगता है कि देयर विल बी समथिंग रॉन्ग. So how much, and poor people, for them time is so important कि वो, they cannot waste their working day just to link your Aadhaar and mobile phone. You have to get it done at their doorstep. And if you do that, and I would say, Shital, that this country, if they can just do one thing, like it is like a vaccination, that all the population, we will link the Aadhaar and cell phone. Within 3 months, the whole country will have that. And once that, and it has to be done in a very efficiently, and it will be in the system data. I find that we will be able to not only, I mean, we will, it's very difficult to compete with China, right? Everybody talks about like we are way, way ahead. But I do think that, if, I mean, what we can see, right, what the achievements of us in vaccination, why can't we do that in spite of you?
Agree. Very nicely put, and really the example is so relevant. And yes, within 18 months, so much more empowerment for women to have a smartphone, to have their own money, digital transfer. So yes, I think it's worked wonders. It's created a level playing field, which is phenomenal. So my last question to you is that a couple of pieces of advice for young professionals who are in our audience, who would like to pursue a career in the development sector.
So one thing, I mean, Shital, I'm just like, this is last question, so I will only ask myself a question, that particularly young people and young women, many times this question is asked to me, that how do you see your professional and personal life, or how do you balance between family and these things? And I never say that I give time to my family, I do balance. I make sure my children, of course my children are grown up now, but when they were very young, and I am not only staying here in village, but I had twins, eldest son and then twins. And at that time I had started bank, and I used to say that no, I am giving 24 hours to my work, to my profession, to my, in and why I'm saying that also is, so many people find it, so many women find it very, uh, when they get that conscious that, we have not been able to give enough time to the family. I don't think one should feel bad about it at all. If you have selected your profession, yes, and I also find it that why not fathers also would like to raise the children, right? That is one. And of course, I had a support of my mother-in-law, But I would just say to young people, young women, that never say that, I feel bad or balancing and all. Once we start saying that men, I would like that men should also raise children,
Yes.
and there is so much of love there. You will learn so much if you raise the children. We have learned so much, right, by raising our children. It's a different experience. So I would say that to the young population. And the last, another thing I would say, you know what, I've shared so much or so many stories of our women. Our women say one thing, that again I'm bringing this, that when I was going to Davos, I was talking to our women that, I'll be co-chairing, and there will be people who will be parking their aeroplanes in parking lot, and people will be talking about billions and trillions. So what should I say there? Our women said that you tell them that you must be talking about capitals in trillions and all, but for us our courage is the capital.
Wow. So beautifully put.
All
Amazing.
young women, that your courage is the capital. If you capitalize your courage is going to spread and give courage to other person also, right? It's that. And I always think that I want inspiration from young people. I want to be inspired by young women. So I would say that people like me are waiting to get inspired by you young people.
Superb. And we have a couple of questions from the audience. There's a very interesting question from Shweta of the Catalyst team. So, can we have the spotlight on Shweta? She would like to ask you a question.
Unmute.
Shweta, you're on mute. Again, back on mute.
Evening. I think the host has, okay. Yeah, I'm unmuted now. So thank you so much. It's been great to hear from you, Chetna ma'am. Of course, you've answered a lot of our questions which we had in our minds, but I just wanted to know, you were talking about young girls. We at Catalyst work with young girls. We are working with these girls in STEM education for higher education, and then we want to finally give them placement opportunities and that they stay in the workforce. What are the challenges that you have faced? How do you integrate the younger lot? How do you motivate them and how do you retain them in the development sector? There's so many distractions. So I just want to know, how does it work for you?
So one thing, I mean, as far as as far as Mandishi is working, we work with young women who want to set up, say, a business.
Hmm.
Now, they hardly have any investment opportunity with the younger population. Their husbands, their in-laws will say that their parents first. Their parents first will say that जो करना है वो शादी के बाद करो.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So they don't want to take the responsibility. I sometimes very aggressively say that ki, unless you love your daughters will never be loved as a daughter-in-law. अगर माँ बाप ही प्यार नहीं करेंगे बेटी को, तो ससुराल वाले बेटी को प्यार करें बहू को, ये किसने कहा है, कैसे होगा ये? So when what we do is that nobody is going to invest, both the sides. So the first thing is that invest. How do we do that? Number one, like as you are saying about that, you can invest in education by supporting them and all, but the material investment becomes very important in the businesses. We have these funds where we provide a 0% loan to them, and make sure that all the ecosystem is there, that at your doorstep we'll take the repayment. We will see, of course, like we are expert in credit and all those banking side, but what I'm trying to say is that somewhere material investment has to come. Otherwise women will not get that value in the social. Once there is and again in this, what happens, कि अगर मैंने पैसे डाला है ना, तो दूसरे भी डालेंगे. Right? If we are, let's see, if our women get loan at a 0% or whatever to buy a machine, we have seen in so many cases that when she got machine from Mandeshi, then her family will say, okay, we'll give you some working capital. Well, she's already empowered that even if you don't support there are some people who are going to support. Somewhere this has to come. And there are different in different areas. I'm not saying only entrepreneurship. In sports, what we do is that we provide them shoes, we provide them whatever sports they are in, all those tools, so that their parents will think that okay, we should also do something. Otherwise nahi hoga. And I always feel that you have to create those funds, like guarantee funds. I am pushing as a member at the brick bank, we are pushing that guarantee fund has to be there, because women do not have collateral. So then government guarantee fund should act as a collateral to women. Otherwise, how would bank lending will increase to women, right? Because every time you would have men as a co-borrower. Now to bring men as a co-borrower, then the women will never be able to do it. There are other ways also, right? Many state, and I would also say another thing, that many times we ignore the state government leadership who is doing good work. I would like to quote also, no, I don't mind quoting Chief Minister of Odisha, Chief Minister of Telangana, Chief Minister of Sikkim. All these leaders have done so many great things on gender. Like they have waived off the stamp duty for women to buy the property. It was in Gujarat also before. So I'm just saying that sometimes we have to bring them on the mainstream. We have to have a dialogue and make them, celebrate them, so that then other political leaders will also say that okay, because see, somewhere you have to get, the way you want to get a corporate world, you have to get the political leadership to believe in this, right? And I feel that there are different ways, but I just shared those some of them.
Wonderful. And we have one final question. Anjali from Third Sector Partners would like to ask a question. So can we have the spotlight on Anjali, please?
Yes. Namaste, Chetna ji. It was very lovely to listen to all of your experiences and all of your, thoughts that you've shared with us. So I wanted to, ask you something very interesting. I come from a small town called Kolhapur, very close to your hometown. So the entire journey for me to reach where I am currently, I had to face a lot of challenges, though coming from a privileged background. So my question to you is, what are some of the common challenges or the fears that you have noticed among women or women entrepreneurs, and what advice have you given them to overcome these challenges?
Okay. Anjali, thanks. And Anjali, you can tell Chetna also, it's fine. One thing, I always find that many times, particularly, I would talk about both. I mean, with the low income group, women, they come forward, right? Because they have no choice. So they have no choice. Either you start business or you work somewhere. But with the middle class women particularly, many times it happens that your life is decided, right? As you mentioned, that those challenges are undiscussed challenges, but bigger challenges. Like if some young women wants to start a business in a middle class family, family is not going to support. Or they would say like, educate yourself, अपने से ज्यादा पढ़ा लिखा लड़का मिल जाए, शादी करो, हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी खत्म हो गई, पढ़ाएंगे भी इसीलिए, वो अपने पैर पे खड़ी रहे इसके लिए नहीं पढ़ाते हैं, वो इसीलिए पढ़ाते हैं कि बेटर दामाद अच्छा सा मिल जाए, नो टेंशन, अपना टेंशन निकाल के, ये मतलब माँ बाप ही इसी तरीके से सोचते हैं जनरली. बट I would actually provoke young women, and Anjali, good you have asked the question, that it's, yeah, these small town or anywhere, there are so many stereotypes which are forced on us, right, in a different way, that you have to behave in particular manner, you have to, I think that, and then a lot of women are coming out of it. I see that sign also. Either it is in small town, very simple thing. In small town, very recently we had a very small coffee house in our village. And if women will sit, young girls will sit and have a coffee in the coffee house in the village, people would actually criticize them. Immediately that girl's father will say that you are not going to go into that coffee house, and you will not, because those people were saying. What we did was that, okay, some girls are going to coffee house, give them a flower openly, yeah? People should know that, oh, Mandeshi is recognizing these girls who are going to coffee house. कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. Just that wherever there is an expression of freedom for girls, that expression should be celebrated publicly. I strongly believe, particularly in small towns and everywhere, that so many public event goes on, right? गणपति हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, बच्चे रास्ते पे नाच रहे हैं. We actually, when we set up the Mandishi Bank and when we first time celebrated Navratris, everything is on street. Let people have a habit of seeing women, young girls celebrating on the street. We provided a bicycle to girls to go to school. But on 8th March, we tell all girls that, scream, drive bicycle. Say, then let people get used to see those scenes, right? वो आदत पड़नी चाहिए ना कि वो either मैं जीन्स पहनूं या मैं स्कर्ट पहनूं या मैं whatever. People should have a habit of seeing it. And I know, Anjali, it's not very easy in these small towns. You need some collective support or some collective action. If you come together and do it, you'll get the power. Right.
Thank you. And more power to our young women and entrepreneurs. Thank you so much, Chetna ji. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you here. We have really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you so much.
And thanks, Shital. I really like the gracefully how you have conducted the this whole dialogue, particularly because it was very entertaining dialogue. I felt for myself also. So I really liked the way the gracefully you led.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much. It means a lot. Thank you.